What is happening, you Titan fans? It is currently Sunday. Free agency starts on Wednesday. But as you know, the legal tampering, which is basically now kind of the first day of free agency, is tomorrow. So, exciting times because the Titans are only ever winners in the offseason. Once the season actually gets going, things get a little rough. So, today, our show is going to consist of two parts. Number one, we're making a predictive thing, so then in our next video we get to react to see who did better. We are going to try to predict three Tennessee Titans, or nope, three people that will be Tennessee Titans that they're going to sign in free agency. Worded that terribly. So that's what we're going to do first. And then we're going to go by every position. We'll try to rapid fire because you know how we can start talking about anything under the sun besides staying on track. We're going to go through each position group like we do every year and say, should we address it in free agency, the draft, or both? We're going to do that. And that's how this video is going to go. So welcome in, Josiah.
Howdy. How are you?
I'm good, as always. Definitely better since it's the off season. Like I said, that's the only time Titans are winners. So, is there anything you want to say? Anything you want to do before we just hop right on in here?
Yeah, no, not really.
I would thank all my subscribers and give them a shout out. Not my subscribers, my sponsors before going. But we don't have any sponsors, so I guess we might as well just jump right into the video. Okay. All right. Also, there's a small chance that he has to leave in the middle of the video because he's home alone with his children right now, and they're napping, and sometimes they get out of their bed, so it's possible he has to go put them back in bed. So if we're just talking, and then suddenly it goes like this, more than likely he's putting children to bed, back to bed.
That's
all right,
possible.
yes, very possible. That being said, we're gonna go one at a time. The very first free agent that I think the Tennessee Titans are going to sign is center Cade Mays. I have a bad feeling about the center market. I almost feel like we should not have cut Cushenberry when we did. It's like we cut him, created another need, and with all these centers flying off the boards, I have a feeling it's Tyler Linderbaum or bust. And I just have a bad feeling that we're just not going to be able to get our hands on him, and then we settle for like a Cade Mays who's just like average, I guess. Yeah. And I'm just like, I would rather just stick with Cushenberry.
I would say this before I start anything. I have the sneakiest feeling. It's not even sneaky. I just have a feeling Titans are going to butcher this free agency horrible. We're going to have so much money and we're going to do what bad teams do. And we're going to screw this up. 1,000% we will. And I agree with you. I don't feel good about the central position at all. But I'm going to start with what everybody, like wherever you look, says this just makes too much sense. It's going to happen. I'm going to start with defensive lineman John Franklin.
Franklin Myers.
Almost everyone I talk to is like, this is happening. Just sign it up. And it's going to happen. So that's, I think, the most obvious one for me.
Yeah, honestly, I had the exact same guy as my number two, John Franklin Myers. Basically, for whatever reason, they're just acting. Everybody, including his ex-teammates who are now Titans, they're all just acting like he's a Titan, like he's going to be a Titan here. Which is, I think, it's a good player, good position. He can slide right there on the defensive line. I'm happy with that pick.
It's things. He's good. He's not great, but he's good. And to me, it's a good move, but like that was all like, oh, look what we did this offseason. It's just not much flash to it, but yeah.
We don't need the flash. We just need more good football players. Like you said, is a good football player. We need more good football players on our team, not people who's not really doing anything with tons of potential like a T'Vondre Sweat. Tons of potential, not doing squat for us on the football field. We just need more good players he's 29 years old, so just good players who's been doing it a long time. Yes, I understand you want to take flyers. Yes, you're wanting to develop young players, but I feel like we have so many players on our roster. There's like, okay, I know they haven't done much and they're young, but like, have you seen how fast they are? Have you seen how big they are? That size and that speed, that's a dangerous combination right there. If they're coached up right, they could be a nice little steal, and then they never are. They just simply never are.
Yep.
At least for us. So just getting good football players like a John Franklin Myers would be fantastic for the Tennessee Titans. So you go ahead with your next one because that was my next one.
This one I'm not 100% sure, and I don't think it's a hugely done team, but I also saw a lot of people talking about it. But it's Tremaine Edmonds, who the Bills
Yeah,
cut,
the linebacker. I would
Mhm.
like that because Cody Barton, I
is
came into the league, I always
okay,
thought he
but
was
not great.
average. I
Yeah,
feel like he was just like a little below average. Like he did get some
yeah.
picks for us.
He did make some picks. He got some sacks, a couple, and so he had some plays. I'm like, okay, but you're right. There was a lot of mess ups too.
He was way more boomy and busty than I thought he would be.
Yeah,
Like I just for some reason assumed he was a low ceiling, high floor guy. But for me,
yeah.
I feel like he was either making the big play or completely
Yes, I
screwing
agree
up.
with that. I just feel like there's just one too many times he got pushed around, like in running
Mhm.
game and stuff like that,
Mhm.
for me to like. But yeah, I think Edmonds would be another. Cody Barton's okay. Like we said, he's okay, but you can do better. If you put him with Cedric Gray, I think that's a pretty good linebacker
Yeah,
core
I
there.
agree. That'd be a good linebacker core, and it's already been reported Titans are looking for a big name linebacker. I would be happy and content, and that's a good one. I didn't think to put that one in. So my last one, which I'm starting to feel more and more strongly about, which I'm on the fence how I feel. I'll just try to choose to be excited because I'm a positive feller. The Wandale Robinson to the Tennessee Titans is really, I feel like, picking up steam.
Speed, Steve.
Yeah. I like if we sign him. It's one of the situations where we sign him, we're like, this guy's got speed. This guy's got short area quickness. This guy's got production last year, especially with 1,000 yards. I am not against it one little bit, especially, here's the caveat, especially if we keep Calvin Ridley. Because if you're giving me Chimdike, Calvin Ridley, and Wandale Robinson as wide receivers, like that's your top trio, I'm like, I feel pretty good about it. The only issue is I do have a bad feeling if we give him a bunch of money, which I think we're going to overpay big time for him if we do go after him. If we do that, then I feel like that's when Calvin Ridley gets the axe.
The problem is, in
So
my
it's just
personal
switching out
opinion,
one for the other.
yeah, he's a lot younger, so I give that. But at the moment, I would rather just Ridley. Not Ridley last year. Now, if you think Ridley's just old and that's why he sucked last year, then fine. But I don't think Ridley's that old, in my opinion, where he should be diminishing in skill. I just think he had a bad season. That's my
And
opinion.
he had drops, and that started it off. Then he had the hamstring,
Yeah.
comes back in the hamstring,
Mhm.
breaks the
Yeah.
bone, and he's gone.
And so if you just think he's old and that's why you get rid of him, that's fine. But I still think he's still good, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
yeah, my thought process was the same guy. And I just want to say, to me, this is a screw up by the Titans. Like and I know Mr. Easton Freeze is so heck bent that we're not gonna get him, but Alex Pills is so much better in my opinion, and I would so much would rather him. And I would just throw whatever money you want at Alex Pills. Again, the problem is we got so much money, we keep cutting people to create holes so we can have more money, but we're at least it hasn't even started yet. But people talk is the Titans don't want to spend money, but yet we have so much money. So
It's not that they don't want to spend money. They don't want to do like Rand Carthon did and just give big deals to people who don't deserve big deals or just overpay a lot of people. Like I think Calvin Ridley is a good signing, but we did overpay for him. I thought Snead thing made sense, but then we overpay him. Cushenberry
here's the
clearly was
problem, buddy.
overpaid.
Here's the problem.
Kenneth Murray was big time overpaid.
Well, Kid Moore's not a good player. That's his problem.
Well, yeah, I
Um,
know. Well, that's what I'm basically saying. They don't want to pull the Rand Carthon thing where you're just paying average or even bad players money that they should
well,
never have seen.
Alex Pilson's not a bad player. I
He's
would
still
say
gonna be
though,
overpaid. He
well,
has
yes,
one
here's
season. We'll be excited if we get him. He had one season where he barely gets 1,000, and now we're talking about giving him $30 million a year.
I think Alex Pilson is a person that's going to help the whole offense. If he only has 2 catches a game, he's going to completely open things up for the running game. He's going to open up things for Cam Ward. He's going to open up so much. Even he's a guy who can impact the game without having stats to show for. You might be like, oh, he had 2 catches for 55 yards, but still is going to open up so much for us. But here's my thing though: is like I get you don't want to overpay, but I'd rather you overpay than sit on your thumb, and then you end up only getting 2-3 guys who's decent players. And guess what? Your team still's a 3-14 team, but you have $85 million to spend. You know, it's like, okay, what's the point of that? Like, we're still sucky.
Well, here's the thing: if we extend Simmons and we extend Skoronski, we're not going to have nearly as much money as it looks like we do. So that's going to happen. 1, 2, we have to spend a minimal amount of money. Like, there's a certain amount that you have to spend. So it's not like the Titans are just not going to spend money. So we're going to spend the money. I just think there's going to be a lot more in trading out of a Ridley for a Wan'Dale Robinson, trading out a Snead for a new.
About trading off Ridley for Robinson, then that's still a bad position. We don't fix the position. We just get.
I mean, I agree, but like we're going to talk about soon, we still have free agency as well. Not free agency, the draft as well.
The draft, there's only so much you can fix in the draft because you only have 3 rounds. I'm going to say that you can just plug and hope to play. Even if round 3, you don't know if you can plug and play. But
even though we had 4 or 3 4th-round picks that were plug and plays last year, that
should expect that.
Yeah. Now, like, let me put it this way: if we go Wan'Dale Robinson, cut Ridley, so Wan'Dale Robinson, Chim DK, we go 2nd-round wide receiver, and Alec Manor. Do you feel any better about the receiving core there?
No, I don't.
Interesting. That's a bold take. Interesting. We'll see how that shapes out. Because basically it's our would end up being number 1 and 2 wide receiver, and Chim and Alec being slid down to 3 and 4 in this hypothetical, and getting a new number 1 and a new number 2. And you feel as bad or worse about the wide receiving core?
Who did you say was the number 1?
With either Wan'Dale Robinson or whoever we would get at the top of the 2nd round.
And you think the top of the 2nd round is going to be better than Calvin Ridley?
I mean, no, I don't. But I don't see a world where they're paying Calvin Ridley and a Wan'Dale Robinson put together like $55 million.
That might be true, but you said, do I feel bad about this receiving core? No, I really don't. Especially going into last season, is like, I was hoping for more. Now, it was funny. DK was a smidge better probably than I thought he would be receiving, but Alec was a good bit worse than I was hoping. And that was part of me believing the hype, just in the sense of he is a 4th-round receiver, so you can't expect too much out of him. But and I'm not supposed to do this. I tried my best not to do this, but in the offseason, just to talk you about Alec I thought he'd be better than he was. And so I just feel like I'm down on this receiving core than maybe a lot of people.
His problem is he was streaky because he actually still ended up with 500 and something yards. So if you're a wide receiver and he had 3 or 4 touchdowns, a 4th-round rookie get 3 or 4 touchdowns and over 500 yards receiving, you're like, it's a good season. But his biggest issue is he started off hot and then he got quiet. Like, especially after Calvin Ridley went down, and then Alec was the presumed number 1 wide receiver, and he was drawing the double looks or the number 1 corner or the whatever. That's when he just dipped. I just think if you call Calvin Ridley, Wan'Dale Robinson a wash, one for the other, you just call it like a wash. Chim is still the same Chim. Alec's still the same Alec. So just adding a 2nd-round wide receiver, borderline a 1st-round wide receiver, we have to be at least a little better with the wide receiver room. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that makes our wide receiver core good, but at the same time, I highly doubt we're going to pay a big price for a wide receiver or 2 and then draft a high one as well. Sadly, our receiver is probably not going to be good this year.
Like always, we just don't. We're a crappy team, does crappy decisions, who just don't. We're not serious at being good.
It's what the problem is. Number 1 receivers don't come open in free agency. Like Alex Pierce is not a number 1 wide receiver. He played second fiddle to Michael Pittman Jr. his whole career. It's been the Michael Pittman show down there. Alex Pierce's whole career. He's a number 2 wide receiver. Guess what? In my opinion, Wan'Dale Robinson, he's a number 2 wide receiver. Calvin Ridley, he's a number 2 wide receiver. Number 1s just don't come available. Unless it's a trade, and then you don't want to trade a 1st and a 3rd and a whatever for a number 1 wide receiver. That's the only way you're getting them or drafting them.
There's an idea I really like. I've been watching some stuff on Tate, and I would love to have him, but that you just have to be lucky almost in that way, because it's not just you have to trade back. I guess we could pick up 4, but some people think that's 4 is high. But at the same time, here's my thing. I would not be that upset if we got Tate at 4. I think you and a lot of other Titan fans would be. It might be a little bit of a reach, but most mock drafts that I see is him going 6, 7, or 8. So I'm like, it's not that much of a reach. If he's going 6, 7, or 8, it's not that much of a reach.
I just wish he was better. That's just like that. That is the worst number 1 wide receiver that's went into a draft in so long.
I don't know. I like him, but
right. But guess what? People saying his ceiling. He'll be a really good number 2 wide receiver. I'm like, well, so we get him. We still don't have a number 1 wide receiver.
I don't know. I think that.
I've never heard anybody who's literally film junkies that their whole life is just scouting. I've never heard anybody say he has number 1 potential. Now, of course, people like Brian Thomas Jr. was picked almost in the 2nd round, and he's immediately got 1,200, 1,300 yards as a rookie. Now, of course, he did have a drop off in his year 2, so that's probably a bad example. But Puka Nacua is a 5th round pick. Nobody thought he would be anything, and now he's getting 1,500 yards a season. So people are wrong. That said, I don't think I've heard anyone say Carnell Tate is supposed to be anything more than a really solid number 2. But anyways, that just took us 15 minutes. So we are going to fly through these position groups. Are you ready?
Yeah, I suppose.
Quarterback. My opinion, free agency. We don't need a drafted quarterback. We don't need another young quarterback. Actually, there's a little caveat here, a little nuance. If we just keep Will Levis, I'm fine with Will Levis being our backup. If we trade him away, then we need to sign a veteran backup.
Yeah, free agency, yeah, I agree.
All right, next running backs.
Real quick, let me just say this. Would it be weird, like really weird, if we keep Will Levis as a backup? Cam Ward, I hope this doesn't happen, but gets hurt and he misses just 3 or 4 games. It's a little chunk, and Will Levis just tails it up for those 4 games. That might be a good thing for trade purposes. But at the same time, you almost and especially if Cam Ward wasn't super good leading into that injuries, you'd be like, Will Levis is still a young guy. But yeah, anyway. I was just thinking that a couple days ago. That would be an interesting situation. No, I think we would stick with the number 1 of our pick. But
what would be really nice is if he just tore it up in preseason going against 2nd and 3rd string. Yeah. And then someone's like, we need a quarterback. We'll give you a 4th for him. Yeah. Probably not happening. All right, running back.
Probably free agency. I saw a list of there's some decent running backs out though in free agency.
There is. That's the one I'm the most open on. I am down for a Jordan Love if we go number 4 and pick Jordan Love over 4. If that happens, best player in the draft. I would absolutely take the best player in the draft. Big time playmaker who's basically like Christian McCaffrey, where he just lines and just plays flat out wide receiver a lot of the time too.
I saw someone call him like a diet Christian McCaffrey, not as good, but you're right that he's all down back. He can catch. He can run. He's like Christian McCaffrey.
He might be a diet Christian McCaffrey. He was going to be drafted earlier than McCaffrey ever was. I think McCaffrey's like 8 or 9.
Well, either way, I'll take a diet McCaffrey. I'm not complaining about that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Anyway, so if we do that, then I say cut Pollard. Let's ride it out with Love as number 1, and then right behind him for 1 more year, we'll let can't remember what that running back's name is.
Spears?
Yeah, Spears. There we go. Sheesh. Him, and that'd be great. Or we could stay the same. I'm okay with us going giving Pollard and Spears 1 more year, but I'm also good with cutting Pollard.
But I'm done with those 2. I was doing that for a while, and even though I know Tony Pollard has 1,000 yards, I get it. I'm done with this too. I think we could do better. That's the thing. And with this money, if we're not going to do nothing with receivers or nothing like that, you could get yourself a decent running back, I think. But that's just my opinion.
Whoever pays Kenneth Murray is going to overpay big time. He's only ever been a committee running back who had a really nice postseason and Super Bowl MVP.
Agree with you.
Someone's going to pay him, $15 million a year to be a cowbell. I'm like, he's never been a cowbell.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I do think he's going to be overpaid.
Okay. All right. We kind of talked about this position group already. Wide receiver, I think there's no way to say you can't do both because we still have just Calvin Ridley for now. Probably not much longer. In fact, by the time we end this video, he might be gone. So if he does get cut, then all we have is 2 second-year, 4th-round pick receivers.
That position's got so many holes that you can do both. So I say both.
Yeah, 100%. Need bodies. All right, let's go. I'm trying to figure out how I want to do offensive line. In my opinion, tackles, we're riding it out with Dan Moore and J.C. Latham 1 more year. Give us a good swing tackle in free agency. Don't draft one. And then that be that. On the interior, I say...
That's tough because here's the thing. I want to say free agency and center. That's what I want to say. But if you look at the names left, basically it's Ravens have to get rid of their center.
Correct.
That's what has to happen. And so there is that one guy you said who's not as good.
Cade Mays is just whatever. But I honestly don't think Cade Mays is all that much better than Corey Levin, honestly.
Yeah. We screwed ourselves, if you ask me. Now, if we could find a way to get Linderbaum.
Tyler Linderbaum, yeah.
Linderbaum. If we could find a way to get him, then actually, I'm like, good job. Thumbs up. I don't say as much, but good job, Titans. You did it. But anything short from him, I'm like, that's just dumb. In my opinion,
it just created another hole. Like I said, it would make sense if we like $5 in the hole or $5 million in the hole, and we cut Cushenberry to get under it. that makes all the sense in the world. But when you have so much money and you can get at least average play maybe from Kush, I just don't understand that. For me, it has to be free agency for right guard and for center because I do
Oh yeah,
not
but we
want it.
do still need a right guard, don't we?
We do because I do not want to draft. If someone's going to start at center and right guard in the draft as a rookie, we have to go second and third round picks on them. I'm not trying to do that. Like, imagine if we just draft Ruben Bain in the first round, and then we go center in the second round, guard in the third round, and that's our top 3 picks.
If I
Boring.
had to deviate from the 2 positions, I'm gonna say center and free agency. And I think guard you can do a little more deeper. Tackles and centers go before guards.
Yeah.
Now, I would rather say free agency in both. But if I had to go with one, I would say guard in the second or third.
Gotcha. Yeah. I'm not against giving Jackson Slater a shot, but at the same time, he is a third-round pick. So we'll see how he goes.
But is he just another guy that you draft? Like, wow, that's good value, and then
just never does anything.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
Could be. All right, last position group we will talk about is tight end. This is just me. Maybe I'm undervaluing it. I have no desire to go tight end high at all.
In the draft?
In the draft.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Maybe other years, maybe like if we get to a point where we're like the picking 10th overall and there's a really good tight end, but because of positional value they fall, then I'm like, let's give them a shot.
Is it basically like, is Chig gone? Is that what's going on for sure?
No, last I heard, Paul Karski said that Titans do want him back, but he's probably testing free agency. I would be good bringing Chig back, and I would be good just bringing somebody else. And I kind of like David Njoku. That's one of the guys I wanted.
My thinking about that is, it caught me dumb, but I saw enough that I want him to have more playing time. I want to see more gun of him. Like, I don't want to keep him buried in the depth chart, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that would be my biggest issue, is if we bring in a Njoku, and honestly, even if we bring back Chig, that does kind of knock down Gunnar Helm.
And how much development can you do as a number 3 or something like that? You know what I mean? So I want to keep him at least where he's at, if not move him up.
We do need somebody with some blocking ability.
Yeah, and I don't know
free agency.
That's the only problem with Helm and Chig. Helm and Chig is not blocking tight end, so I don't know if you need both, if that makes sense.
Yeah, apparently Chig was rated as the worst blocking tight end.
I did not know that, which is weird because he's thick. He looks big.
He's a big dude. Just does not know how to block, apparently. Apparently, he does not know how to block. All right, we actually knocked out the offense pretty quickly. It only took us about 6 minutes to knock out the whole offense. So let's see if we can tackle the defense. All right, we'll start off up front. Interior defensive line. I say free agency because the John Franklin Myers, we bring him in, maybe even bring back a Sebastian Joseph Day.
That's a good piece. Them too. And the Simmons considered interior?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. So that'd be good to me.
Yeah, but keep that way, and that can become a strength of our team. Next, we'll just jump right outside of them. Edge rusher. What are you thinking there?
Man, I would. My favorite. It was funny. Let me talk about. I changed my opinion during the season. Ruben Bain was my guy. Now Bailey's my guy. So I don't switch often. I don't switch often, but I switched on that one. And a lot of people think the arm thing may not be a big deal, but I was listening to a show saying, like, hey, maybe Ruben Bain might be good. It's like, but never in the history of football has anyone ever actually been a good pass rush with arms that short. Yeah. So with that being said, I'll go Bailey. So I say, I guess that means draft. But the only problem is if Bailey's not there, then I don't know if I even want Ruben Bain at 4. That's not a good thing to say.
Sadly, I hate to 100% agree with you, and I have a bad feeling is what we're gonna do. Not spend big on free agency. Mm-hmm. Then Arvell Reese and David Bailey go 2 and 3, and we're sitting there looking at Ruben Bain. And then I'm like, man, Ruben Bain, Jermaine Johnson, and Femi Oladejo. I'm like, we got to hope some things just happen to go right. Like, I like the fact that we're actually throwing some young names in there, high picks, but I agree with you. The Bain originally, like 4 months ago, I'm like, Bain, you are a Tennessee Titan. But I'm just like, I'm a David Bailey guy. And I still kind of like Jordan Love.
I'm just wondering, because sometimes people, especially veterans, like they wait a while to sign. So if Ruben Bain's the only option, we go somewhere else, and hopefully maybe there's some guy like, he's not bad. Let's bring him in and just kind of throw another not bad guy in the mix.
I will say this is a deep free agency edge class.
I was noticing that. I was looking at some names and like, there's some decent
like
name.
Kwity Paye and Jalen Phillips, and of course, then there's Trey Hendrickson one. That's when we completely disagree on that. I don't think we have time to tackle in this video. I'm unbelievably out on Trey Hendrickson to the Titans this year. Josiah's unbelievably in on Trey Hendricks. So we're just going to leave it at that. We very much disagree. Please let us know in the comments down below what you think. All right. So edge rusher, it's nuanced. I don't know.
I'm just gonna say draft because I want Bailey. So technically, that's what I want then.
Yeah, that's true. That's a fair point. So yeah, draft. I say draft, but then
You can say something also. Now Bailey is who I want, and I actually was really out on this guy. For some reason, just reading and listening, I'm a little more in him. Now I don't think he will be first. Let me just say that. Now I did see some mock drafts, but Alvaro Reese, even though he's not technically a pass rusher, just everyone talk about just how good he's gonna be with Robert Saleh. You know, who's good at Robert Saleh is good at making defenders good. That's not good. So if Alvaro Reese could be having such high potential, I'm like, that would be nice. Like, a lot of people talk about Bobby Wagner, and Bobby Wagner's been a Hall of Fame kind of linebacker. I'm still thinking, man, just to have a linebacker you're going to have on your team for 12 to 15 years, just roaming that defense, like that would be awesome. But
it would be. For me, it's 100% just going to depend on where he plays. Because I'll be honest with you, at 4, I do not want a middle linebacker at 4. I just don't.
Okay. Most time I disagree. No, most time I agree with you. I do. Just listen to this one guy, the scout, and I was just this guy, but just talking about him, just thinking that he's going to be the next big time linebacker. I'm like, oh, that sounds good. But anyway, go ahead.
But anyways, if he's at edge, I entertain it a whole bunch more. So I kind of agree with you though. Edge, I guess in the draft is what I want because the way I see it, give Femi another year, and now we have Jermaine Johnson as well. So we don't need. Now, obviously, you can always get a body in there for $7 million a year, like a Jihad Ward, like we had last year, and Jalen Harold can come back and things like that. But like nothing big to report. All right, let's back it up to the linebackers. We kind of already talked about this. I'm into the big name Tremaine Johnson. Tremaine Johnson. Is that
I was just thinking
Edmonds.
this.
Tremaine Edmonds.
Edmonds. If you have Cedric Gray, so I guess sorry, I interrupt you, but is that free agency then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. But does this sound actually pretty good in the middle here? If you have Simmons, and I forgot what's the guy's name, the guy that's saying
John Franklin Myers.
Yes, if you have Miles, Simmons behind him, Gray and Edmonds, that sounds like a pretty good up the middle. I will say that.
I agree. I completely agree.
It does sound pretty good. You know, it
sounds
like
nasty.
Sounds like Titans could be like the Saleh of the Jets. Can't score on them, but can't score, so they're gonna lose 9-6.
See, that's where you gotta put faith and trust into Cam Ward / Brian Dable.
Yeah, sadly, Dable is not gonna be here for long. I don't think. I got it for 1 year, and that's it. But
yeah,
I do agree. Anyway, so linebacker free agency for me.
Safety.
I'm gonna say. Sorry, you want to go first?
I was gonna say free agency. I think
we have say to get some depth to it, but I'm okay with Hooker and I always
Kevin Winston Jr.
Thank you, Winston Jr. Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you. We got a young star and we got a veteran solid.
Be good if healthy, because right now I need those two. Now I know Hooker's been healthier, but you know, ultimately, you know, his whole career he's been banged up a little bit. But you know, those two like to be hurt. But if they're healthy, those are pretty good two safeties. You ask me.
Yeah, I'll absolutely take it.
Just don't. Winston struggled with man-to-man, so maybe you shouldn't do that so much.
Yeah, I think it's because that's not where he's supposed to play. But
no,
instead of letting him play safety, they really wanted Xavier Woods to keep playing for whatever reason. So they kept Hooker and Xavier Woods, and then they just was kind of trying to force him in to play other places and roles to get him on the field, and he was kind of getting burned a time or two. But anyways, that's safety. The last position group we'll talk about, and I think we're both going to have the same answer here, is cornerback. We don't have cornerbacks on our football team. That's been one of the most discussed things, with Snead probably out the door. Marcus Harris is technically just defensive back. He's technically probably sort of a slot guy, box safety, but mostly like a slot corner guy. And we got nothing else. We do not have cornerbacks.
We don't.
I've never seen a roster that has like 2 people that are technically cornerbacks.
Cornerbacks go down easy and fast, so I'm thinking you need a ton of those, and we got none. So
yeah, we need to draft several and sign several.
That's a problem. I'm thinking about our front. I'm thinking about our linebackers and our safeties. I'm like, that's good. I'm like, you know what the problem is? You need people to cover, and we get nobody. Absolutely nobody.
Yeah, I really like the idea of Rick Woolen. He's that really tall cornerback for the Seahawks. I remember when he did joint practice. I think it was right before last season.
he did good.
He was destroying us.
Yeah.
I think again, it's free agency. You overpay, but I'm all in on some Rick Woolen in my life.
Yeah, I think that would be a good pick.
Was that your phone?
No, that was my baby monitor.
Oh, so now you don't know if the kids are awake or asleep.
Yeah.
Nice work.
Probably woke them up.
Way to go. Well, that said, we did just finish our last position group, and it's 30 minutes into the video. So just one more little refresher. We both think Wan'Dale Robinson, right?
Mm-hmm.
We both think John Franklin Myers. I went Cade Mays. You went Tremaine Edmonds. Yeah. So I like yours better than mine because the only difference is I had Cade Mays and you had Tremaine Edmonds. Obviously, it's possible they're all.
It was who you think, not who you want. But yes,
correct. Got anything else you want to say before we get out of here? There's our little free agency preview.
Next video, I will gladly get on and say, guess what? I was wrong. But I've been a Titan fan for too long. And I will say this. We will screw this up so bad. I just have that in my opinion.
So you've been saying that for like 6 months now.
So next video, I will probably say, guess what? We screwed that up so bad. But we will see. We'll see on the next video what I will say.
Guess we'll see. I think you kind of want it to happen.
Can I just ask one question real quick? Because it has been a long video. We need to go. Is the Titans have any thinking at all to compete this year? Or is this going to be another 3-14 year?
I think they're looking for a 7-10, 8-9 year, which is doubling our wins. And then they want to put all the chips in, I think, for 2027 with the new
stadium open.
With the new stadium and everything. So I think this is supposed to we're awful, like bottom feeders right now. They want to go from bottom feeders to competitively bad.
You know the problem is, and you know what? I have full trust that Saleh's going to get us to be a team. But that's what he was for the Jets. Every single year was And that's what got him fired. I'm like, so I bet he can turn this team to but I don't know if Saleh's good enough because I'm not a Saleh fan.
Well, let's be honest. 2027 is a Saleh's year then. If he gets us from 3-14 to 7-10, and then the next year after that, we don't get any better. We stay 7-10, 8-9. Then that's 2 years for Amy. She's like, that's more than enough time. Get out of here. So that'll be that. I will say one quick more little note before I get out of here. A name that nobody talks about, and this is something I usually really agree with these two people a lot. Austin Stanley, Easton Freeze. Chris Bell. He's a first round wide receiver, but he's gonna slide to the second round more than likely because he tore his ACL.
Yeah, I remember hearing that. Yeah,
and I'm all about getting him with our second round pick, especially since we're not pushing our chips in and trying to win the Super Bowl in 2026. Like, for some reason, I feel like Easton and Austin and a lot of other people are acting like it's almost like they start talking like it's a win now all of a sudden. Like, they don't talk about it like that in any other way, sense, or form. But whenever it comes to Chris Bell, they're just like, oh, I can't take Chris Bell because we need him. We need this year. We need him. Like, do we?
They get a first. Like, oh, you're not gonna get much out of him this year. I'm like,
okay. I don't care. I like the Titans. I don't see us making a push even for the playoffs. Really, that's my humble opinion. Now, we'll really definitely look like a completely different team for the better or worse next time we talk on a video. But I'm like Chris Bell, possibly a number one wide receiver. Like, imagine if we do get a Wan'Dale Robinson and then a Chris Bell as well. Now I'm feeling good about our wide receivers heading into 2027.
Yeah.
He's going to have to produce for me in 2026. That's just me. That's just a little nuggy. Maybe I'll talk more about him as free agency gets concluded and then we get into the draft talk. Yep. That said, you got anything you want to say before we hop our happy heinies on out of here?
Nope. I'm good.
I think so too. Well, thanks for watching. If you're still here, make sure you like and go Titans. Tighten up. Next time you see us, we'll also have brand new uniforms and new logo. So we'll see how that goes as well. Could be. All right. So that being said, Tennessee, I was going to say Tennessee tighten up. That's a weird thing to say. It's not like someone who's not a Titans fan trying to be a Titans fan. Tennessee tighten up. I was going to say tighten up. Peace out and all that jazz.